we have seen once again the ramifications of draconian anti-choice laws in red states. And specifically, this week was about Kate Cox, who was a woman in Texas, who is a woman in Texas who was pregnant, and was told by her doctors that the fetus had no chance of living. It had multiple, I believe, heart conditions, and it would have lived for 3 days or something like this. A judge permitted her to get an abortion. A judge permitted her to get an abortion. That's right. That's the state that Texas is in, and many states are in. But then the Supreme Court overruled that judge's ruling, basically, and said, no, you can't get your abortion. So that stopped the abortion. Simultaneously, the Attorney General of Texas, who is an impeached, corrupt a-hole, Ken Paxton, also wrote a letter to the hospital saying, basically, if you do this, if you perform an abortion to terminate a fetus's life that would have no life, truly, if you alleviate her suffering, you'll be held liable. You should be afraid. Da, 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 da. Basically, bullying and scaring the hospital workers. Kate Cox eventually did seek an abortion at, I believe, in New Mexico. She went to New Mexico. But she, while she was pregnant, opened a lawsuit against Texas. In fact, 20 other women, including her, are suing the state of Texas specifically for denying them the ability to have a safe abortion when they needed one, when their fetuses were not viable. These were all happened to be women who wanted to have kids. Kate Cox herself already had 2 kids, and she wanted a third. And if she was to continue this pregnancy, her ability to continue to have kids or to potentially get pregnant again would have been shot. So that was the story of the last week. I'm not sure how much you heard of that, Suba, but
yeah, I've been following your story. It's super sad, crazy.
Super sad. But here's the thing, and like, not for nothing, like, these are white women, and these white women are mad, and they got that special white lady mad energy. And I like, which is like, you want talk to your manager energy when it comes to reproductive rights. And I think we're getting it. So I'll tell you why beyond Texas. But here's a little bit of a rundown for those who are talking about, like, oh, what about these carve outs for, like, cases of rape or incest or, health of the mother or the baby. Technically, this is according to The Guardian, abortion bans in the US have some kind of carve out, but countless doctors have said these exceptions don't reckon with the complexities of pregnancy. Due to the ban's vague and politicized language, as well as the severe criminal penalties for providers who run afoul of the law, doctors say they're confused about when they can step in to help the patient and hamstrung by the fear of prosecution. Instead, doctors say they have been forced to wait and watch until patients are on the brink of death. They have had to pull them back. And that's literally what happened in Texas. 5 women sued Texas over its medical emergency exceptions, which the lawsuit hopes to clarify. The suit is named for Amanda Zerwaski, whose water broke too early in pregnancy for her to give birth to a healthy baby. Because her doctors could still detect fetal cardiac activity, she was unable to get an abortion. Days later, she was diagnosed with sepsis. She ended up spending 3 days in the ICU thanks to scarring on her reproductive organs. She may never be able to get pregnant again. So, like, again, this is what happens when you put all of your pie in the sky theories onto uteruses, onto the bodies of people who can get pregnant, and it doesn't fit your neat fucking little protect all life cubby. It's like, at what cost? What are we talking about? What kind of life did any of these fetuses, did any of these babies, would they have lived? And what about the life of the mother? Ultimately, we all become second-class citizens,
Mhm.
and have to sacrifice our own lives, possibly. Sepsis is she easily could have died. And this is the thing, Suba. I'm like, these women survived. But, like, number one, imagine, the stories that we're not hearing, number
Yeah.
one, from the people who didn't have health care or the people who are taking matters into their own hands. But also, it's only a matter of time before we hear about the death of somebody who was denied an abortion.
Oh yeah, it's not even a question.
Yeah, it's not even a question. And, like, anyway, so, but not just in Texas, but people are fighting back. In Kentucky, while Cox was the first pregnant woman to file this post-Roe lawsuit, mere days after she went public, a Kentucky woman announced that she too was suing for the right to end her pregnancy in a state that outlaws almost all abortions. Her pregnancy actually now no longer has a cardiac activity, so maybe she can get one, which is just wild. In Oklahoma, a woman has also filed a federal complaint against 2 hospitals, desperate for an abortion as her non-viable pregnancy worsened. The woman was told to wait in a parking lot until she was, quote unquote, crashing. But then there's Tennessee and Idaho. These are red states, y'all. In Tennessee, and this is brilliant, Allie Phillips is now running for office. She's running for Congress as a member of the first generation of female candidates to run post-Roe after her fetus was diagnosed with several lethal conditions. She's big on TikTok, and she was basically like, I'm done with this. I'm going to run. She's 28 years old. Like, she is young. These women are young. Kentucky, Oklahoma, Tennessee, Texas. Suba, I feel like I've been shouting into the ether of asking, and I don't know how these women vote. You know, we don't know if they voted for Trump. We don't know if they're like Republicans, and like, I am not a big enough of a piece of shit to be like, this is what you get when you vote for. No, I think it's so important for Republican women to hold their own electeds accountable and to fight like hell against draconian laws, knowing that ultimately reproductive rights is about supporting all pregnancy outcomes, right? When you want a healthy baby and when you don't want a baby at all.
Yeah. I mean, I hope so. I would love to have a alternate reasonable party where even if they got elected, I wasn't going to feel like my health was an immediate risk. That would be lovely if it was just like 2 reasonable parties. You know,
Exactly.
I'm excited for them to like get out there and fight and make change, and I hope they're successful.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's also like you see, I mean, I don't know how much you've been following Nikki Haley's rise, and I don't know if you have any thoughts about that, but it's interesting that you see Nikki Haley rising in the polls as someone who seems to be a little bit less psycho on the abortion front, although very much an anti-choicer, is like drawing the line at a federal ban. And you kind of, you know, I can imagine a lot of Republican women seeing her as someone who is not going to use their bodies as sacrificial lambs for like some sort of Christian nationalist, you know, fucking like, yeah, fascist government.
Yeah, I don't like her.
Yeah. You don't like
But
Dick
it's
Cheney in heels, as Vivek Ramaswamy called her?
God, Jesus Christ, what an embarrassing. Thank God. I'm like so happy Trump isn't going to these debates because as an Indian person, it's just so embarrassing. I'm like, please get them off camera. Nobody look at these two. This is humiliating.
Don't you Trump would be like, "Look, they're fighting. They do it all the time." Like, he would definitely say some shit like that, you know,
Oh
like,
yeah.
make it about their race. Yeah, I am excited. Like, this is why, and last on this story, um, this is why people like Ted Cruz are running scared as hell of questions like this.
Senator, are you supportive of the Texas Supreme Court's ruling in the Kate Cox case that prevented her from getting an abortion after she learned her fetus was not viable?
Just call her press officer.
I actually have for 2 days now, and I still haven't received an answer.
Thank you.
Senator, are you
thank you. No thanks.
I mean, I get it. He was late for his plane to Cancun, so he couldn't take questions.
His dog's like, yeah, you stay and answer that goddamn question. I love that. That makes me smile so hard remembering how his dog was left behind. Yeah, so Ted Cruz and Republicans generally do not want to answer this question. They don't want to talk about specifically women who wanted to be pregnant, didn't have a viable fetus, were denied abortions and nearly died and now are suing. They do not want to talk about that at all. They want to talk about, well, not baby Jesus, because we know Christmas is now canceled in Bethlehem. I don't know. They don't, it's the trans in the military, unclear what they want to talk about. But I think 2024, look, it's going to be a wild year. But this has everything to do, man, I hope we can capitalize on this energy. And I hope, and I think there's finally some fight back. I mean, there's been fight back, but some real energy behind, you know, pro-choice movements here. What's going on, Frantifa? If you haven't already, subscribe to this channel right now. Hit that button. And also, you can become a patron and support the show every single week. Get access to bonus episodes and exclusive merchandise. Patreon.com/bitchuation room. Do it.